Hello and welcome to the Creative Lotus Podcast. I'm your host, Alan Zaki. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Creative Lotus Podcast. My name is Alan Zaki, your host. On this week's episode, we have comedian and actor Joseph Schles.
Yay! Hello, everybody.
Hello, how are you?
Great, how are you?
I'm doing fabulous. This heat is killing me and I'm sweating like a pig, but otherwise I'm doing wonderful.
Beautiful. Well, glad we caught up. Talk to you later.
Oh, and that's the scene. Thank you so much.
Good night, everybody.
So Joseph, can you give us some background, kind of where you're born and raised and what you've been up to lately?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I grew up in the Inland Empire of California, so Riverside County.
Mm-hmm.
I'm from this city called Moreno Valley, but I usually just say Riverside because not a lot of people know Moreno Valley. I mean, it's a big city, but it's just, people know LA, San Diego, and like Orange County.
Right.
But yeah, so I grew up in the Inland Empire. In high school, I kind of got involved in, it's a long story.
We have time.
In high school, I got involved in dance because I thought it was going to be, they offered dance class at my high school.
Okay.
I thought it was going to be when you go to the winter formal, this is how you dance at a party. And then, of course, at the beginning of the class, I was like, oh, this is like
5, 6, 7,
ballet
8.
jazz. Exactly. But then so I was like almost not going to take it. And then she was like, oh, by the way, if you take dance, it counts as your PE credit. So you don't have to take PE. And I was like, ka-ching. So I was the only boy in that class. That was kind of like the beginning of my being involved in any kind of arts. And then I got into theater and I loved doing dance and theater. So then I was like, oh, I want to do Broadway stuff. And then eventually I moved to New York to go to school for musical theater, which was fun. While I was at school for musical theater, I'm not like a great singer. Okay. Even at my best, I was like, okay. And while I was there, you work on songs and scenes and stuff like that. And I kind of accidentally discovered that I was funny. Or really, this is going to sound so shady or shitty, but I discovered that not everybody's funny is what I'm trying to say.
Very true.
Because we were doing these things and I remember we had this showcase and the director of the showcase was like, how do you do this so naturally? And I was like, I don't know. How does anybody not? Anyway, my point is that is when I learned that I had a good sense of comedic timing.
Got it.
But I still didn't really think of myself as a comedian or anything. After school, I ended up dancing with this kind of cabaret burlesque troupe in New York City called The Love Show.
Wow.
And that was super fun. We performed all over, just in bars and random little places. We performed shows for, 5 people. We performed shows for 500 people,
Mm-hmm.
And we did a lot of awesome stuff. And kind of performing with them, it being a little campy, but also really beautiful dance too. But I kind of more and more, I guess, developed a comedic timing and voice. So I was known as the funny boy in the group. And then, so I was working in this restaurant. This is, maybe I'm taking the long way around.
No, it's great. I love it. Please. I love stories.
But I was working in this restaurant and a couple of my coworkers were also musical theater people in my early 20s. And we were like, let's do a cabaret about waiting tables and how much we hate it. So we're doing this cabaret and I actually had some struggles working on it with them because I was feeling very specific about things, meaning okay, so when we do this little scene to introduce my song, here's the scene, okay? I need you to say these words because that's my cue to say these words. And the two of them were just kind of goofing off and they were making each other laugh all the time, but not getting anything I was saying. And so I felt really a third wheel. And so when I'd be this is what you need to say, they would kind of just half-ass it. And I was like, no. You need to say these words specifically. And they're like, whatever. It's easy. It's breezy.
Bad acting.
And I was like, no, I wrote this. I need you to say this. So anyway, in this show, they broke the show up into 3 parts. And in between each part, one of us was to come out and introduce the next section of the show.
Right.
And I got the section of the show that I wanted the least, but like I said, I was the third wheel, so it was kind of I
gotta do what
kind of consistently felt a little ganged up on. So I was like, fine, I'll do this, but I don't know what I want to say. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll say this, I'll say this, I'll say this. So I like ended up writing all of this stuff down, and I was like, I'm going to say all of this. And then the day of the show, I was like, okay, here's what I'm saying. And they're like, that's kind of long, don't you think? And I was like, I'm saying it. It was just like thoughts that I had about, you know, waiting tables or whatever, like just little anecdotes. And I did it for the audience for the first time, and they were laughing hysterically. And so I kind of inadvertently wrote a stand-up set, which I did not realize is what I did.
Right.
So after that, I was like, oh my God, this is great. Cut to years later, I moved to LA. I do the Groundlings, which is like a comedy improv school. And that was fun. But it was one of those things, like everything I was doing, I was kind of like, I like this, but I feel like it's a step to the next thing. Somebody I met at the Groundlings was doing stand-up. I went to go see him in a stand-up show. Right. And I was like, I want to do stand-up. I don't even know where to get started, you know? But this looks really fun. I went to go see him in the show. After the show, he introduces me to the booker, just kind of casually. He's like, oh, this is my friend Joseph. He's hilarious. And the guy goes, oh, you're a comic? I'll put you up if you want to do a set.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, no.
I could never. Okay, when?
Yeah. So I was literally like, oh, no. I do improv and sketch. I don't do stand-up. And he was like, I'll put you up. You want to go up next week? And I was like, no. And he goes, okay, how about May 11th? That was 3 weeks away at that point. So I was like, okay. Because I was going through this thing where I'm like, I got to say yes to these opportunities. Right. So I said yes. I wrote a set. I was testing it out on all my friends. I was testing out jokes, and they were all kind of like, I'd be like, what do you think about this? And they'd be like, okay, I think I see where you're going. And I'm like, trust me, it's going to work. So I did stand up for the first time. That was like 6 years ago, five years ago, maybe. Okay. And it went great. And from that show, I booked another show. And from that other show, I booked another show. And it just kind of kept snowballing. And I was like, this is a thing I love to do.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so great.
So that's my journey to stand up.
I love it. That was amazing. I mean, so like you said, you came out to LA. What kept you from staying in New York? Because, I mean, obviously like musical theater is huge there with Broadway and everything else that they have going on. But was there something that drew you to Los Angeles? Obviously, you said, you know, you come from the IE, so your family is here in California. But was that a determining factor? Or like what brought you specifically back to Los Angeles? Because it's known for Hollywood and comedy and everything as well. But
yeah, totally. Actually, so like I said, I wasn't much of a singer. I was in New York. I moved to New York for musical theater. I ended up like not really doing any of that. I felt like my best bet would have been to be like a chorus boy dancer in some tour. You know what I mean? But then I was waiting tables, and it was like, well, it's hard to want to take a non-union national tour making in a week what I make in 1.5 shifts. You know what I mean? And I was feeling creatively satiated out there because I was doing the Love Show. And so I was like constantly performing anyway and having a lot of fun, but there wasn't really like money in that. And ultimately, after a certain amount of years, I was just kind of like, I love New York City, but I'm just waiting tables out here. And I'm just in Angela's company, you know? And I don't want to just always be Angela's funny boy dancer. Because everywhere we go, everybody knows Angela. Right. And people will be like, oh, you're Angela's friend, right? Oh, you dance in Angela's company. And I love it. And to this day, she's one of my best friends. But I just didn't want to be Angela's funny boy dancer. I wanted to be like Joseph Schles. And I didn't really know. I don't know. I felt like stuck in New York a little bit because I was like, I just was like, I need to change it up. And I just had this kind of like pull to try to come to LA to build a career out here. Joke's on me though, because all I've been doing is waiting tables. But also, it's funny because I say that, and then I came out here and I did the Groundlings, which is like a long ass program. And I found myself like, oh, I said that I wanted to come to LA to like be Joseph Schles and not be part of like a group thing anymore. And then I got right involved in the Groundlings, which is a group thing. And that's, but I'm glad I did it because that's kind of how I discovered stand up. And that's when I've been like, oh, this is what I really like to do. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because it sounds like you really found your voice after, you know, taking the risk and took the jump off of the actual cliff, if you will, to go and do your own show.
And I was really nervous to move to LA. I was really nervous to do improv. I was really nervous to do stand-up, but they've all been like good choices. And then also, yeah, family was a little bit of a deciding factor in that. I was like, I have all these nephews and nieces. It'd be nice to like see them more than once a year. So.
Yeah, no, makes sense. Yeah, I think that New York is such a difficult city to live in, because I think a lot of people are like, oh my God, you're so close together in the sense of actual space. Like there's no way that you could be lonely. And it's, you know, you're kind of, I'm like, yeah, exactly opposite. I was like, kind of like you, especially if you don't have, I mean, same thing goes for Los Angeles. If you don't have a crew of people that really kind of are around you or support you, man, that city can be like dark, dark city.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've been lucky in all aspects because I did have good friends in New York. I do have good friends in LA. But yeah, you can feel lonely anywhere, girl. But I do say all the time that I'm really glad that I lived in New York when I did, which is to say in my 20s, because there is a lot of stairs out there and I cannot anymore. I'm like, I am tired.
Yes.
I cannot carry these groceries up 3 flights of stairs every day anymore.
I'm fucking dead. That's hysterical. Yeah. Well, I know the haul of groceries is no joke. It's hashtag adulting in general. No one told me I had to go take all the damn groceries inside.
Yeah.
With no help.
So rude.
Yes, absolutely. Just rude. How dare them? No, I love that. That's amazing. So coming to LA, and you obviously kind of found your niche. How difficult was that to kind of keep that going? Obviously you got this connection, which is amazing, and got the booker. Like, did things just kind of like, well, bam, like come through the door, or has it been kind of a struggle to keep it going?
I mean, I think it's been a struggle. I think it's still a struggle. I find myself struggling with it all the time. And like a lot of aspects, I feel like I've been very lucky in that like my first show was handed to me. A lot of stand-ups will go through this like open mic route and they suck for years. And, I mean, seriously. And then after doing open mics and stuff for however many years, then they get to do shows and whatever. And I kind of like got put on a show, right? My first time doing stand-up was a show people were paying tickets for, you know?
Right.
But it wasn't like at a comedy club. It's not like I wasn't really like getting paid for it. But my point is, you know, I felt lucky in that aspect. And at that show, it went really well. And one of the other comedians was like, hey, I really liked your set. I have a show coming up in a couple weeks at such and such a place. Would you want to be in it? And I was like, yeah, sure. And then the booker from that show was like, hey, great job. We'd like to have you back in a couple weeks. And I was like, okay. And then another person from that show was like, hey, I do a show. Do you want to be my, you know, it kind of like, I feel lucky in the sense that a lot of my opportunities have just kind of like fallen into, not, I don't want to say in my lap, but like on my path. Right. I'm not great at the like hustle. I'm not great at the like, hey, I'm a comic, let me do your show. I do it a little bit, but I get really nervous about it. Yeah. So also I do feel like there's different struggles. I mean, like anything, things can be cliquey a little bit. And, you know, comedy's weird. It's still, to this day, I would say, predominantly like a boys' club. Right. And I don't super vibe with straight boys.
Straight dudes, yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. It feels challenging for me to like network with those people sometimes because I think so many of them are just like shitty.
Yeah.
And then with the gays...
Mm-hmm. The gays. The title.
You know, because there's a big gay comedy scene in LA, and it feels, I mean, I don't know, maybe it's my own insecurity speaking here, but it feels a little bit like the upper echelon of the gays. If they don't want to fuck you, or you don't have a TV credit, if they don't feel like they're getting anything from you, you're out of luck, buddy. And I mean, there's been a handful of people who have been like very warm and welcoming, and I've gotten to do a lot of shows, and I know a lot of great gay comics, but I feel like this difficulty trying to like level up at all, because it's like, how do you, I don't know. Gays are a little bit weird with like, with opportunities and stuff. I feel like it's like you either, if you don't look like Joel Kim Booster, right? Or if you don't have, writing credit on SNL, nobody wants to work with you. Sorry. Oh, you're not, I'm not going to say any other names, but, oh, you're not so-and-so. Well, then I don't want you on my show because, you know, so a little bit of that, but that might also just be my own insecurities talking. I'm just feeling like I'm just feeling like a little stuck and frustrated. And, you know, COVID probably didn't help with that. But
right. No, I think you touch on a lot of points, though, because I love comedy. I don't go to enough shows like in improv shows or even stand up in general. But I think that the industry itself has always been very much predominantly cisgender, male, you know, straight, kind of hetero, a lot of kind of sex jokes, dick jokes.
Right.
Nothing wrong with those things.
I mean, my set is sex jokes and dick jokes just from a different
perspective.
Exactly.
Right. But just in general, it's very kind of, and I hate to say this because maybe people are listening out there that will disagree with me, but I also feel like there's an undertone of misogyny.
An undertone, bitch. It's an overtone.
Oh, I like that. Overtone. Okay. Yes, absolutely.
Yes,
Let's get to the point.
There is.
Right. So because of that, it definitely kind of segregates, right, the kind of comedy that you're going to see. But then if those people are the ones that are booking and in charge of it, then it makes it kind of like not impossible, because nothing is impossible, but really it makes it very difficult to get into those circles and or want to be a part of that.
Right.
But then if your own family, and I'm air quoting here, family, LGBTQIA plus folks that are at the top of their game don't also want you in that club, if you will, or in their circles working, then how the F are you supposed to like move ahead?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, so many people think that it's Los Angeles can be very inclusive, which it can be, but I do feel like so much of it is not, you know?
Right. Well, I mean, it is inclusive in the sense of like there's so many people here and so many different types of people here that you're bound to find people that you have a lot in common with. You know, if you feel like you're a misfit, you're going to find other people who are the same kind of misfit.
Right.
You know what I mean? But that being said, I mean, there's still the gatekeepers, right? And it you know, I do feel it changing slowly. You know, you see a lot more kind of inclusive shows. I do a lot of queer shows, which is fun to do, but I'm also kind of like, but I'm funny, like,
in general.
I'll be funny for a straight audience too.
Yes.
You know, and the show that I first got booked on that I did for many years was just like a straight show. But a lot of times with these bookers, like they'll be inclusive and they're like, okay, we need to have a girl, we need to have a gay person. You know what I mean? So it's, you know, it's still a struggle. There's still work to be done, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So with all that being said, kind of what do you find to be your greatest strength as a comic when it comes to doing the work that you kind of do and your sense of funny?
Well, I think what I like to think, I don't know, it feels weird to be like, this is what I'm good at, but also like you should be able to do that. But also like I'm terribly anxious and I'm like, I just want you to like me. I swear I'm not conceited. I think for me, a lot of it is relatability. I think that I've got like a friendly demeanor. I feel like it's probably from years of waiting tables, honestly. I'm like, just like putting people at ease.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's a big deal. Being kind of like, you know, you're safe. You have to have some pretty good jokes right away. So people are like, okay, this person has jokes. And if you start off rough, then the audience feels like, this is going to be uncomfortable for us.
Right. The trust factor. Yeah.
So you have to like build trust right away. Be like, don't worry, I got jokes and I'm not scared. And also like I'm relatable. And especially I think, you know, there's a ton of queer comedians out there now and also people of different diverse backgrounds and whatnot. So I think nowadays people are more open to like watching that and like hearing other people's stories and perspectives. That being said, I think for me, I make it, I don't know, I feel like I think that I'm like relatable. I'm a little chubby. I've got like a friendly face. I'm a nice guy. And then my set is also like filthy.
Love.
So I think people are just kind of like, I think that's like a little bit of a surprising factor. Like, oh, this nice friendly guy. Oh, he's talking about really dirty things. Got it. And I think it's like a little bit of the surprise mixed in with the relatability, and people feel like, you know, I feel like if you are open about talking about things that make you insecure, or like dirty secrets that you're not supposed to talk about,
right,
then other people feel more comfortable. They're like, oh, I'm not crazy. This weird thing that I like or that I've done is normal. He's talking about it. He seems normal. I don't know. That makes sense.
No, absolutely. Yeah. I think when you peer into the window of people's personal lives through comedy and like you're making fun of it, you know, majority of people can also laugh because there's a relatability factor to that.
Yeah.
And so I think that, yeah, you definitely touch on that point. And no, that's a great strength to have.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times what happens, especially back in the day, it used to be like a really common thing where people are like, women just aren't funny. It was like the male comedian thing to say, women aren't funny, women aren't funny.
So gross.
And my thoughts on that are that for so long, all of media and comedy, all of like media and comedy was by and for straight men.
Right.
So straight men are like, oh, I relate to this.
Right.
Oh, this guy's talking about what it's like to like get in a fight with his like shitty wife. Wives are shitty. Women suck. And other people, women, gays,
everyone else
has had to be able to relate to that because like this is the media, this is what we have to watch.
Right.
So we know how to relate to straight men. Right. We know how because this is what we're taught our entire lives. Now all of a sudden more doors are opening and stuff. So men are like, women aren't funny because they don't know how to relate to anybody who doesn't have their experience. Right. Because they're like, I'm the superhero in every story I tell. I am the Robin Hood. I am James Bond. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when somebody gets up on stage and is the main character for their 5 minutes, 15 minutes, an hour special, whatever they're doing, to somebody who's like, well, I don't understand. Oh, she's talking about her period. That's gross and weird. I don't know about that. That's not funny. And it's like, well, you just don't know how to relate to it. So it's not funny to you because you have no empathy because you are a sociopath, patriarchy, loving, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe not, but that's drastic to say. So that being said, I do think more people are more open to like diversity now. And I think they're able to, since we have so much, well, you know, slowly more inclusivity, people are able to be like, oh, okay. Oh, I get this now. I've heard enough people talk about this. That even though it's not my experience, I understand why it's funny.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, you touch on something that I don't think a lot of people see or really necessarily talk about, which is for so long, it's always been this very masculine straight men talking to straight men.
Yeah.
You know, you used to turn on Comedy Central and literally I would flip the channel because it would be these comics that would be doing stand up talking to themselves, really. It's almost like you're talking to the mirror and these other straight men understood it. But then, yeah, if you're anyone else outside of that spectrum, you're kind of like, this isn't fucking funny. You know, like it's a waste of my time. I don't want to listen to it. And then, but I think that then you have, you know, the majority of other people that are now going, like you said, opening the doors of inclusivity and they're fucking hysterical, but that straight male audience doesn't get it. So they just want to like shit on it.
Right. Seriously. And then also, you know, it's funny, you hear, I hear this a lot because as a white man myself, I am privy to much privilege, you know? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And, you know, just from working in restaurants, I'm around a lot of different types of people, including a lot of straight dudes. Mm-hmm. And doing comedy, I'm around a lot of straight. Anyway, but being a man and being white, I do think people have like a comfortability where they think they can say things around me that I'm kind of like, oh, no, I don't think like you. Don't say that to me, you know? But I do hear a lot of times now people are like, it's really hard for white guys. It's really hard for straight white guys right now. And you're like, no, it's not hard for straight white guys right now. There's more opportunities for other people, but there's still opportunities for you. Okay. Just because not every job is for you, just because you see some listings saying looking for diversity, now you feel like, oh, it's hard for me. Like, no, maybe your script just isn't good.
Yeah. Seriously.
I mean, you know.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's something I have to deal with for myself. I'm like, oh, maybe my comedy is just not that good.
No, and it's absolutely true, though. It's the fact that people think this idea of, oh, you know, it's so hard for me now. It's kind of like, no, you've had it good for the last 100, 200 years, bro. So like, sitting to the side for one show, 2 shows for a month, whatever the hell it may be, so other people have the opportunity that they haven't had for forever.
Right.
It's like open the door and there's still room for you here. I mean, that's ultimately the goal of it, is not kicking someone to the curb and saying you're out and this person's in, but rather it's an inclusivity thing so that you're able to allow other people to show off their talents.
Yeah. And it's still good for you guys. I mean, every show I do has many
Many.
Straight dude, mostly straight dudes in it. The thing that a lot of them get mad at is they're doing their like old school misogyny jokes, old school like gay guys are lame because here's why, you know? And audiences don't like it as much, especially in LA. Maybe that shit flies in like
New York.
Texas or whatever. I mean, honestly, maybe New York, I don't know. But, you know, audiences just don't like that anymore because number one has been done.
Yep.
People are like, why aren't
That's
you
not
laughing
new.
at my whatever joke? And you're like, because they've been making that joke since the 40s, bitch. You know? And it's old. And also, audiences, I think, are just like more sensitive to other people. So, you know what they say in comedy, you have to punch up. And so it's like, if you're punching down, if you're like, fucking women and their yogurt, what's wrong with them, right? People are like, that doesn't make sense. So I'm like, oh, you guys are too sensitive. And it's like, we're not sensitive. That's just not funny. It's just dumb, you know? Or whatever. Anyway, I don't know what I was saying, but
that's absolutely true. I think that it's time for change, and finally there's some change there. I mean,
yeah,
there's a whole lineup. If you look on Netflix or any of these streaming apps and you see the stand-up comedy shows that are out there, it is so much more women and also diverse people.
Lots of diversity, which is really great.
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking about diversity and doing your own thing, have you had a moment in recent years that you felt like you had made it in the sense of your career or something that you've been really working to achieve? I know you did explain, you know, you kind of got, let's say, a booster shot of kind of getting right into the game very quickly. But has there been something that you were really kind of fighting for that you finally were able to get?
Well, you know, I think I have like really, I would say 2 moments that were like cool for me, big for me. I would hardly say that I felt like I made it, but the first thing that was really cool or like really validating, in 2018, I did the Comicure LA Pride Comedy Festival. And I wasn't doing a lot of festivals or fests, but this one was in LA and I was like, oh, I'm going to do this. And it was a competition. And I was just like, I mean, it was 2 days. It was the first day you go up, you get 3 minutes, and then they vote. And based on votes from the judges and the audience combined, you get to be in the finalists. And I don't know for sure. I want to say there was probably about 40 to 50 comics total on the thing.
Right.
And there's 2 rooms. Everybody gets 3 minutes. You go up, bing, bing, bing. You know. So it was a 2-night thing. On the second night, I had to work. I didn't even take the second night off because I was like, ain't no way.
Right.
So I went, did it the first night. People were really funny. This one girl in particular who I know, she was hilarious. And then I went up and it like went really well. I was really happy with it, but I was just kind of like, okay. And then at the end, I was one of the 5 people who got to go on to the next day. And I was like, oh shit.
Wow.
You know? Okay, cool. And then, but I still had to work at the restaurant the next night. And I was like, ah. So I was trying to get the night off. Nobody would cover for me. And then I literally was just kind of like, it probably doesn't even matter. Like, it's probably not a good idea for me to take a night off of work and lose all this money to go and do this like comedy festival that like, there's no way I'm going to win. There was a money prize if you win. But I got the night off last minute and I was like, okay, great. I'll go do this. I went second night. It was super fun. It went super well. And I ended up winning first place.
Wow. Congratulations.
So I made as much money as I would have made if I worked that night.
Amen.
But I made it in 5 minutes instead of 8 hours, you know?
Bang, bang.
But that was really awesome. Winning first place at the Pride Comedy Fest. That was like really like, I don't know. That felt really validating. And then I would say the second thing was I recorded a comedy album last year in February. So like right before COVID hit.
Wow.
But yeah, February 2020, I had a friend of mine who also does comedy and her husband is in like music production and they decided they wanted to start like a comedy production, whatever you call it. Company. Yeah. And they asked me if I wanted to do, if I felt like I had enough material for an album. And I was like, sure. Because, you know, I'm like, I try to say yes to things, even if when I feel scared or like I don't want to do it. Like, I'm not ready, but I'm also like, I'm just going to say yes and get ready, you know? So I was like, yes, I want to do it. So they produced an album for me and I got to record that last February and sold out the show 50 whole seats, which is a lot.
Yeah, that is.
For me.
No, that's great.
And it went really well. And I felt like I felt like a star for a night, you know, it was really cool. So those are kind of like two shining moments for me, I would say.
That's amazing. I know I bought the album
thank you.
on iTunes, and it is hysterical. Your jokes are dirty, but they're funny, and your timing is so succinct. And like you just get it. So
Thanks, baby.
yeah, and it seems very natural. And it's really funny because I don't know about you, but I have Bluetooth in my car and I have the entire album on my like playlist. But the funny thing is that if I'm not listening to a podcast or it doesn't go to like Pandora or something, it will automatically just start playing with the music that's on my, but it's completely shuffled. So all of a sudden it will be like a 19, it'll be like a 2008 Britney Spears song. And then the next is like, and then I thought, I had a dick in my mouth. And I'm like, whoa. I'm like, I got to drive to this job. And that just, okay. I'm like, so sorry, Joseph, but I got to go to the next job.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah.
That happens to me too sometimes. I get in my car and I hear my own voice. I'm like, change it.
No, but it is so funny. So yeah, to all the listeners out there, go check it out.
Yeah, check it out. It's called Soliciting Dick Pics.
I mean, how fitting. It's so good.
Spotify, Apple Music, wherever
you listen to anything, including this freaking podcast, go purchase the damn
search
album.
Joseph Schles. You'll find it somewhere.
I live. It's so good. So Joseph, what kind of brings you the most happiness or joy now versus kind of when you first started out, let's say in New York, and then before you came out to LA or even coming to LA?
I would say napping. And ice cream.
Yes!
I mean, honestly, that might not be inaccurate. Happiness and joy now as compared to before? That is a good question that I don't have like a prepared answer for. I mean, you know, it's interesting. And I also think it has changed since COVID, honestly. I feel like this past year and a half of COVID has like aged me. Like I feel like I've grown up a little bit,
right?
In the sense of before, you know, not that I probably still don't like this stuff, but I used to love to be like in the hubbub. You know what I mean? I liked being at cool events where cool people were at,
right?
And just kind of getting to see the glitz and glamour. You know, you live in New York City and like the gay nightlife was so fun. You go to these places, all the drag queens are there. Amanda Lepore is there.
Right.
Like just really cool people, really fun. And in New York, you know, they have the club kids. People are dressed like amazingly. And it was just really fun, I would say. I would say that kind of stuff used to bring me a lot of happiness. Now I feel like, well, it was maybe then too, but now I feel like the main thing that like really brings me joy is making people laugh. And I know that sounds like cliche, like, oh, you're a comedian, of course. But I mean, it is true when people, even if I'm just like hanging out with one friend and we're joking back and forth and laughing. I mean, I know laughter brings everybody joy, but it is my favorite thing. I love to make people laugh. I think that's my answer.
No, that's great. I mean, I think that if you're happy doing what you're doing, it shows in whatever aspect you're doing it.
And I mean, even when I was working in the restaurant, right before COVID, the restaurant I was working at for several years, you know, I was kind of known as like the funny dude there. And listen, working in a restaurant for me was horrible. I hated it. Restaurant managers are horrible.
The worst.
If any of you are listening, I do mean you. Just really nasty people. And also people who dine out. And I worked in like fine dining, so it was like a lot of rich people. And,
right.
You know, a lot of them are nice. But anyway, I digress. My point is, I hated working there. But I also had a good relationship with a lot of my coworkers. I really loved my coworkers.
Right.
And there was just like nights or pre-shifts or stuff. Like I would just have like a bunch of little zingers and people would laugh. And even in this place where I was like not happy, just getting a couple people to laugh at some zinger I said made my night.
Yeah.
You know, I was with my boyfriend recently. That was just a humble brag. I have a boyfriend. And we went to like, it wasn't Target. I mean, it was honestly like a Walgreens or something like that. Or Ralph's maybe.
Yeah.
And I had just the most, oh no, it was Trader Joe's. I had the most delightful interaction with this like older lady who was our cashier. And she was just like cracking up at the stuff I was saying. And I swear I was like, put me in a good mood for the rest of the night.
Yeah.
I was like, I really think Lisa really liked me or whatever her name was, you know? And like he was rolling his eyes, but like it honestly made my night. I just like to like make people laugh.
Yeah. No, it's amazing. I think that I always say that. Oh, it's amazing. I'm going to make a t-shirt that literally says, it's amazing.
It's amazing.
That's amazing.
That is amazing.
Alan Zaki.
Oh my God, dead.
Oh, fucking. Oh my God, dead is right. That is literally my tagline.
That is your
which
thing.
I stole from. Anyways, we're not even going to go there. So, no, I think making people laugh in general is always a good thing, but I'm sure for you, it's also part of your craft, right? So you can almost test out some of the zingers or the jokes that you want to do with people while you're doing day-to-day shit. And if they laugh and you make them happy, not only does it make you feel good, but you're like, great, add that one to the book list.
Yeah, that's true. And I have gotten some like that where I'm just ranting about something and my friend's laughing. I'm like, is this funny? All right, maybe I'll try this out.
Yeah.
And even like when looking for like relationships, you know what I mean? People are like, what's important to you? And everybody's like, I want somebody who's this, that, and the other thing. You know, I want somebody who's smart, makes me laugh, whatever their thing is.
The big fat dick.
Well, yes, always that.
Hey.
For me, like my number one thing was like, I'm going to need to be with somebody who thinks I'm funny.
Yeah.
More than me thinking they're funny. Because everybody's like, I want somebody with a great sense of humor. And I'm like, I need somebody to think I'm hilarious.
Yeah.
It's just important to me, you know? Not everybody thinks I'm funny. And I prefer not to interact with those people.
Exactly. They're dead to me. Goodbye. Dead. No, absolutely. So, you know, talking about the business that you do and the shows and everything pre-COVID, obviously, you know, what is your work ethic like? And, you know, being in this creative field is not easy and it is very much freelance. You know, it's not like you're clocking in, clocking out as a comic. So, you know, what does it really take for you to do the work that you do? And how do you kind of see your work ethic play out?
Yeah. So I don't know if I'm really going to shine with this question here, to be honest with you. Because if I'm being honest, I don't think I have the best work ethic insofar as like, I'm not really good at sitting at home and putting in my own work by myself, which is to say like reaching out to bookers, trying to get on this show, showing up to open mics, showing up to like comedy club auditions and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I am really bad about that stuff. I feel like I'm a socially driven person. Right. Meaning like when I'm with people and they're like, we're doing this thing, then I'm like, great, I can do it, you know? When I go to these shows and there's people there, that's when I'm like, yay, on. And people are like, you want to do this thing? I'm like, yes, I want to do this thing. I'm really good at doing things with other people. When it comes to like making myself do a thing, I'm really bad at it. And this is my whole life. I mean, in school, I was like a good student and I did really well on tests, but I would be damned if I did any of that homework. You know what I mean? Because it's like, when I'm I just have trouble when I'm by myself, making myself do work, which is something I honestly really need to change. But
2021 goals.
Yeah, and so how do I think that affects me? I think that I probably would be further along in my career if I was a little bit more proactive about like trying to get an agent, trying to find, I don't know, a booking manager. I don't know what people do. Yeah. So I think I would be further along if I was a little better at that stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I hate to paint myself in a bad light like that, but it's just the truth.
No, I mean, I like your honesty though, because I think a lot of people don't talk about that kind of stuff, right? It's the unseen, unknown kind of thing. And like you said, you're like, I don't know what people do. But the reality is like, where would you learn that? It's not like you go to like, I went to Comics 101 and I learned how to fucking, you know,
I know.
book
And then you talk to other, this is what I mean about other comedians sometimes. It's kind of like, what are you doing? They're like, yeah, you just show up. And you're like, that's not an answer. How do you get a job doing this? Oh, it just, you know, it's who you know. And I'm like, I know you.
Yeah, bitch. And I asked you the question, so why don't you answer it?
Do you need my resume or what?
That's amazing.
You know? And it's like, I feel like a lot of the stuff with the business of the industry is very kind of like nebulous. And it's kind of like, oh yeah, you just have to do this thing, but don't do that thing because that's a scam. But then you have to do this thing, which seems like a scam, but it's not a scam. And it's just like, what do I do? Yeah. I think the only way to become successful is to join Scientology.
If you could see my eyes right now, they're wider than the sky is high.
I'm just kidding. I'm just being shady. I would never. But don't come for me. Don't come for me.
Yeah, they're right next door, so be careful.
They really are.
Yeah, they literally are next door. So let's not talk too loud about them, okay? Yeah. No, I that's hysterical.
Or have like a rich famous daddy.
Yeah, that works too. I mean, that's the kind of, it's funny that you say that because I do feel like so much of the industry in general, like all of the entertainment industry is what I'm talking about, is so much of the money behind it is like generational wealth. Yeah. Instead of it being kind of like, oh yeah, like so-and-so made it and it was like amazing. And they're like, you know, they have all this money or they were able to make it like on their poor little own selves. And it's like,
right.
Nah, bruh. Like someone gave them the funding in order for them to do it. And or they're already rich themselves because their family is rich and have or they have given them the money to be able to keep it going, if you will, and burgeon their career.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, it's like, I'm not even like talking shit on these people who have a leg up. I mean, it's just one of the facts of the matter. It's like, if you've got money in your family, you don't have to work a waiting tables job, which frees up your days and nights to go on auditions, to go do shows. That being, you know, but that being said, I'm also going to like backpedal a little bit here and be like, well, this year was COVID, so it was a little different. But I'm like, this year I didn't have to work. I couldn't work, but I wasn't like exactly like hitting the pavement really hard every day either. So I think it's a combination of a lot of things. And also there are people that I know who do have like connections and rich dads and whatever, but they are legit, very talented, hardworking, nice people. So I'm not saying they don't deserve it.
Right.
I'm just saying if you don't have that, it does feel a little bit more challenging.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, let's be real. It is kind of a leg up on doing what you're doing because you aren't working, like you said, a 9 to 5 or bussing tables or working the bar or whatever it is, in order for you to then also go and do the content that you want to do and the real passion of yours, which is stand up or comedy. So yeah, absolutely. You do a lot of stuff on social media, which is fucking hysterical. So check him out on that as well. But kind of with the advent of so many comics going on the social media platforms, whether it's TikTok or Instagram or, you know, YouTube, kind of what has been your not only take on it, but kind of do you see kind of that being the new way, especially post-COVID, of comedy going? Or, you know, how does that really affect you in the regard to doing shows and comedy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, for sure. I feel like social media has been like a big thing for comedy, entertainment industry in general, for years now. I actually feel like I'm not great at social media. I mean, I don't have an Instagram following, you know, I don't have like model good looks. What are you talking about?
Oh my God, look at you. You look so hot.
Thank you so much for that. But so like Instagram, like I struggled with Instagram. Also, like I am a millennial, but I'm an elder millennial. So so some of that stuff doesn't come quite as naturally to me. Like my boyfriend again, who is 6 years younger than me.
Okay.
So he's kind of like right in that sweet spot where like he was hitting all the social media just at the right time. So he does a little bit better than me. Like, it's wild. I just don't think of it. Like, I'm just like living life. And in the time that I'm just kind of like casually living my life and making a sandwich, he's taken 4 selfies, posted them on 3 different sites with like different captions. I'm like, how are you doing that?
Wow.
Like, we'll be in a conversation and he'll look at his phone and he like just tweeted something. But for me, I'm like, okay, I'm going to tweet something. I have to think about this for 4 days. So, you know, I don't think I'm the best at social media necessarily until now TikTok happened. Mm-hmm. And I had a friend who was doing really well on TikTok. And I was thinking like, I'm too old for this. I don't know. I don't get it. But because he was like doing so well on it and it looked really fun, I was like, I mean, what the hell else am I doing? I'm sitting at home every day. I might as well make some videos of ideas that I've had. And I started making videos. And, you know, TikTok's an interesting thing because at first when you're posting, it takes a while to like build up a following. And like I was posting and like not getting any views on anything. I was like, oh, this one got 14 views. All right. We're up from the last one. That's so good. Right around Halloween. I started in October, I think. And right around Halloween, I posted from the previous year, I had dressed up from a sadness from Inside Out.
Right.
My favorite costume. I've done it like 4 times. And I was out partying in 2019 Halloween. And I had my friend take this video where she like pans around to see everybody like dancing and having fun. And then I'm just kind of standing there sad in the middle of the dance floor. So I posted that around Halloween and that did really well. And I was like, okay. And then I posted this other like Frankenstein thing I had done the year before and that did even better. And so that's when I like first started getting a little attention. So then I was like, oh, and it is addicting, girl.
Yeah.
That little red dot. Ooh. Beesh. I mean, it is like cocaine. I'm like, just one more. That little red dot, I'm telling you, man. But also it's fun. Yeah. You know?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, people are noticing. So then I was like posting more and more videos and some of them were flops and then some of them were hits. And then yeah, I just kind of had like a string of videos that did pretty well and were being really well received. And I kind of like felt like I got my, what do you call it? I don't know.
Rocks off.
No, I was going to say I got my groove.
Yes.
Same thing. But yeah, I've been really enjoying TikTok and that's been going pretty well for me. I mean, on the scale of TikTok, it's hard to say because on the one hand, you know, a lot of people have like 12 followers, 1,000 followers even.
Right.
And on the other hand, a lot of people have like 6 million followers.
Literally.
So like, I'm like, oh, I'm doing so great on TikTok. But like, I'm honestly in the low middle, I would say. I have like 70K, which is cool. It's the biggest following I've ever had anywhere on anything.
Yeah.
And it's really fun. But, you know, even with that, it's a little bit of a double-edged sword because it's like, you know, when something doesn't do well, it can really affect your mood in a negative way.
Right.
So I'm trying to really divorce myself from like, how did this video do? How did that video do? And that's been good to like take the time to like notice like, okay, this shouldn't affect my mood. So I've been doing better with that. That being said, I do think that social media is, unfortunately, like sad truth, important for this kind of stuff because people, I mean, like the people who are giving away jobs, they look at that now. They're like, how many followers do you have? Because if you have got 4 million people who are going to watch everything you do,
Right.
even if this other guy's better than you,
Right.
you know, he's got 32 followers
Not 32.
or whatever.
Right.
I understand why people want to book people. I mean, like, I've done shows with social media people, and like people show up just to see them. You know?
Wow. It's almost this. It's almost creating like a celebrity or celebrity in that regard because it's kind of like people feel like they know you just because of the videos and content you've created.
Yeah.
But they have no clue once you turn off that, as you said, red dot, and it's no longer going. What is that really? What's the behind the scenes of all of that happening?
And I've seen some like people who are not funny, but they have a huge following because, you know, because this social media thing is their thing and it works really well on such and such a platform. But on stage, that shit does not translate.
Right.
But it doesn't matter because people are like, well, we already love you for your unboxing videos, so we're going to show up here, whatever. You know what I mean? So that being said, I have been enjoying doing the TikTok thing. The nice thing about TikTok is it's kind of like you make your own niche. The interesting thing is like when some videos do particularly well, it feels a little scary because they get out of hand.
Yeah.
Like I can't see all the comments anymore. There's too many. And people write mean things. Like the more people who see a thing that you do, the meaner they get, you know? And so that's like a little like my first kind of experience with that. But you know, it's been fun and I like it and I'm going to keep on making videos.
That's awesome.
It's been a nice outlet during this time, you know?
Yeah. No, they're really funny. And I'm not on TikTok because like you said, the addiction sense of like the cocaine of the red button, but also just even watching and streaming kind of the
hours.
content. Right. And so I wouldn't get work done. I would not be doing this podcast. I would not be doing photography. I'd not do anything because
maybe that's my work ethic problem. TikTok.
Ding! I'm glad we figured this out all on the podcast. Welcome to the Creative Lotus, everyone. Yeah. No, I think that, no, it is definitely difficult. And there's the endorphin hit that you get, the dopamine hit that you get by doing it is no joke in the actual programming of the social media itself.
Yeah, and they do that on purpose. I mean, you saw that documentary everybody watched, whatever it was called. I mean, this shit is all planned. There's a boardroom of evil white men.
Yes.
And by the way, just kidding. I love you guys. Please let me be successful. Gatekeepers, you're so handsome.
Well, I think that was what was so interesting. You're so handsome. Oh my God, I totally want to blow you.
Yeah.
Anyways, no, the funny part of it is that the freak out was that TikTok was actually made in China and that they thought it was like a governmental like spy, you know, that was going to take over. And, you know, Trump, when he was in office, you know, tried to pretty much stop the whole thing from happening. And I don't even know the full story of, you know, whether or not there was, I think they have a new CEO, or it got taken over by an American or
I think so.
something. But
I thought that Trump wanted to stop it because people were making fun of him a lot on there.
Well, yeah, there's that too. There was like a lot of Gen Z who were literally tearing him the shit apart.
And I mean, honestly, God bless Gen Z.
I mean,
I love these kiddos.
It's funny because I feel like so many of us millennials have like such a love-hate relationship with them because they constantly want to tear us down, but we're also not. I personally don't think we're at an age where like the boomers, they went even harder on the boomers than they did on us, I feel like. But I feel like the boomers had it so well. Millennials are struggling like a motherfucker to try and make shit happen, buy a house, do like, you know, keep the economy up and going. And then Gen Z is just kind of like ham. They're just like going so hard on all of us that it's like, oh crap. Like,
it's interesting because I really appreciate like what Gen Z is doing. I think they're, first of all, hilarious. I love their like empathy and all that stuff. I mean, like with any generation, it's kind of like, you know, us with Gen X, you're like, that thing that you guys like is weird. And like us with Gen Z, that thing that you guys like is weird. Like, there's always going to be some disconnects there. Also, I do think it's an interesting side note that I feel like millennials went from being like petulant children. Millennials are like, oh, you spoiled kids with your participation trophies. Right. To overnight being like, you old fogies, you're out of touch. And I'm like, wait, we never, when was our day in the spotlight?
Seriously though. Yeah. And I'm like, and it is that funny fight because I do feel like you also get to the point where you're like, you're the motherfuckers that ate Tide Pods. Like, how are you going to come for us when we're out of touch? And I'm like, yeah, but we're also not trying to kill each other thinking that this is a new challenge on social media. Eat a Tide Pod and see if you make it through it. Like,
right. That's weird. But I do think that it's great. Like, they do not suffer any, I don't know what the phrase is, like bullshit from the patriarchy. You know what I mean? True. Anybody says anything, they're like, that is ableist and racist and absolutely not. Yeah. Fuck you and the horse you rode in on. Right. The thing I was going to say is really interesting because, you know, I mean, I think that's great that they're like social justice warriors, which my friend was like, oh, you shouldn't say social justice warrior. That's a bad thing. And I was like, is it? I don't think that's a good thing. But whatever. Anyway, I posted this video on TikTok, my like most successful TikTok so far. And in it, it's just like a like get to know me thing. And it's like, here's my age, my gender identity is one of the things it says. And I saw a lot of people post their pronouns under that part. So I just put he, him, but love all pronouns, you know, under my gender identity. Uh-oh. I got so many comments, always from probably like Gen Z girl, always a girl or female presenting person saying pronouns are not gender identity. And I was just kind of like, okay. You know, and so many people like had something to say about that, and I was just kind of like, okay, I mean, like this is the thing that you want to come here and police how I decided to list my gender identity, which is pronouns, which I recognize, but like this is what I put on my video. This is not a teaching video, you know. But this one girl was like really coming for me, and she was just like, pronouns are not gender identity, and I was like, okay, got it. And then she said something else, and I was like, well, I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you. I posted the video. You can't edit it, you know? Yeah. I was like, it's posted. And she's like, you can take it down. And I was like, you want me to delete my video, my best performing TikTok I've ever posted, which, by the way, is like cute and funny and like all lighthearted. Yeah. You know? Because I put my pronouns under gender identity. You want me to delete this video? She goes, I don't know. Don't ask me what to do. You're the one who made a mistake. I was like, Jesus Christ. She's like 15 years old, this girl. Yeah. And I was like, I mean, I don't think that I'm the one you really need to be attacking right now. Like, I'm just posting. I don't know. Yeah. So there is like a little bit of that kind of like, okay. But that being said, I still love Gen Z.
Yeah. I just think that there's so many fights to fight. And I do feel like the social media age is kind of like gives people too much of a platform to make this kind of commentary or get so nitpicky when it comes to stuff that they're like fighting the good fight for. Yeah. But I'm like, where does the actual, like, where does it stop?
Right. I was like, I'm not even putting anybody down.
Exactly. Yeah, this is not
I
a
made a
negative
mistake.
post.
Sorry. Jeez Louise.
Exactly. Well, and I do think that the biggest thing that I've seen is how everything can be so reactionary in the sense that you can also respond to people's videos. I think it started out as like an innocent thing, but now the fact that so many people are, making these reaction videos that are just like talking shit on other people or based on what they already said. So like if that girl was to take your video and do a reactionary video and like,
I know.
This is not pronoun, whatever. It's kind of like, I don't know. It makes it's so easy to police people for like their beliefs or kind of what they're doing. But where's the actual dialogue and the actual change going to come from? Because it's not going to happen on fucking TikTok. I'm sorry.
Right.
It's not. So I think it's great. And it is, that generation is definitely standing up for a lot more social issues than our generation, was. Like, let's just keep it simple. But at the same time.
Well, I think the thing is, it's like every generation, things come to the surface and it's like, okay, so things that kind of like we had to, argue about or whatever, and then like come to this realization like, oh, okay, so this thing is a problem here. We discovered. Now they are entering knowing that information. So they're starting ahead of us and then they build on that. I think every generation is going to be a little bit more and more aware. Right. Which is good. And that's how it goes, Yeah. But also it's like, I just put he, him, sorry.
Yeah. Like, calm down. I was just trying to make a video. Yeah, no, absolutely. So moving right along, what's one thing that you've learned about yourself while working in this industry?
What have I learned about myself while working in this industry? I mean, so I don't know if this is really answering the question. This might be answering another question you had for later or whatever.
That's fine.
But one thing that I have kind of learned from like doing comedy and stuff, interestingly, is kind of like how to love myself for things that I used to hate. Wow. Meaning, it's been very interesting for me because, first of all, going back in time as a kid, it's like, oh shit, I'm gay. I don't want this. I don't want to be this, and really struggling with that. And like, I was very lucky to have really accepting parents. I never had any problems coming out, which is, I know, unusual and very lucky. My family is great. But even still, I really struggled with it when I was a young teenager and really hated that about myself. And then, over the years, you kind of like, I got over it and then learned to kind of like love that about myself. But even though I really like accepted myself as being like a gay man or whatever, there's like little things like my voice. I hate my voice so much.
Can't wait to hear you on the podcast.
But from doing stand-up and stuff, it is a thing that people often tell me they really like. Oh, I really like your voice. Your voice is so soothing. Your voice is this. Your voice is that. Because I have like a little bit of a sing-songy voice. And just from being made fun of for it for so many years, to finally kind of realizing like, this is good. I'm glad that my voice doesn't sound like every other dude. And it's especially like trying to do comedy or something. I feel like it's good to have some unique things, and so, a lot of people will like mimic my voice or imitate me. And I used to be really offended by that. But then I was kind of like, you know what? I'm glad that I am interesting enough to have a mimicable voice. Yeah. And I've grown to like love my own voice. And then another big thing, I've always struggled with my weight. And I've always kind of like really hated myself for not being able to just be hot. By the way, not saying I shouldn't say that because people are hot at all sizes. Yeah. But I mean like mainstream WeHo cover of Instinct magazine hot. Like six. You know what I'm saying? Like that 6-pack kind of cookie cutter gay boy. Yeah. Muscle queens. And I always like really kind of like I think hated myself or what's the word I'm looking for? Like resented myself for not being able to like ever achieve that kind of thing. And then through doing stand-up and stuff like that, I make little jokes about it. I really like make jokes about a lot of my insecurities doing stand-up, and then people laugh at the jokes. They love the jokes. They relate to the jokes. Right. And so kind of learning that all of these things that make me feel insecure make other people laugh with me. I'm able to use that to like have other people relate to me because everybody has insecurities, you know? And so now all of a sudden these things that I used to hate about myself are becoming things that I actually really love because I'm like, oh, people relate to this. People think it's funny. And not in like a mean laughing at me kind of a way. I don't feel that. I feel very much like seen and laughing with me. So I don't know if that's exactly answering the question you asked, but that was a surprising side effect to doing stand-up for me. It was like, oh, these things that I really hated, but just talked about my insecurities anyway, have made me kind of grow to love these things.
Yeah, no, that's super deep. Thank you for sharing. Because I do think that, no, that does answer the question. I think that learning that about yourself or bringing that out, if you will, by doing the work that you do is kind of, it's almost like doing the therapy or the work that you need to do in order to be able to kind of thrive as an individual, but also in your creative field. And I think it was, it's Joan Rivers. I don't know if you saw that documentary that she did before she passed.
I did. It's great.
And she talks about how it's kind of nuts how any comic that goes up on stage and, you know, is pretty much like self-deprecating, right? You're literally very alone on a stage with a spotlight on you and talking shit really about yourself or making fun of yourself, or, you know, not always, but so much of it is very like, you know, all eyes are on you and you're making people laugh based on the stuff that you've done or say. But like you said, it's kind of like the greatest joy is making people laugh, and they're not necessarily laughing at you, but they're laughing with you in regards to the stories that you're telling.
Yeah. It's pretty great. And it's funny, everybody has insecurities and they're like, oh, I'm so ashamed of this thing. But it's like, but everybody has that thing.
Right.
So it's like, if you learn how to like not have shame about it and share it with other people, people are like, oh my God, me too. Right. And then you're like, oh, I don't have to be ashamed of this thing. This is like a human experience.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I do think you touched on something with the weight thing, because I feel you, sis, on that, because it's definitely the same thing. I look at myself in the mirror, especially after COVID and gaining weight and everything. And it's kind of like, oh my God, like I don't even want to see my own reflection. I'm like, girl, look the other way. So, but, really learning to like love myself has always been a struggle. And I feel like, and I'm not trying to take this away from anyone else, but I do feel like gay men in general have, not only are you kind of like hiding in the quote unquote, air quoted, a closet, but then on top of that, once you have come out, it's kind of like, now I'm seen as myself and my most authentic self, but that doesn't mean that I necessarily like love the way that I look or feel in this body, in this way. So, and so much of our culture as LGBTQ folks is like the praise of that cookie cutter, you know, muscle queen kind of gay, white male predominantly, you know, run world. And so when you're not that, it does feel like there's no light being, you know, shown on you, and there's no respect for that. You
do feel really invisible. And this is something, I mean, and it's still a struggle for me, by the way. Like, I still see pictures of myself on and, you know, like my boyfriend will take pictures and I'm like, you must delete that. I can't. It's still a struggle for me, is my point.
Yeah.
You know, I'm working towards loving these things and whatever, but I still get that it's tough. But the thing I was going to say is, you know, you say gay men, I do really feel like, not to like continually rail on the patriarchy, but I really feel like anybody who is attracted to men, anybody who is like trying to win the attraction of the male gaze, Gaze. These are the people who really struggle with body image issues, because men like perfect muscle bodies, wayfish, you know, whatever. Yeah. And definitely not being that body type becomes an exception, right? Like you have to find, now you're searching for somebody who's like going to be into your not traditional body type.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's a struggle. Deep. That's really deep though, because that goes back to a long history of America and the patriarchy, but really even before that, right, in Britain. And it's kind of like the male gaze has always kind of been like the standard at which we put everything at. You know, you talked earlier about superheroes and white cis, you know, straight men kind of seeing themselves in media in general. And on top of that, now, you know, the body type and the physicality, even if, you know, Billy Bob, who is, you know, 200 pounds and looks nothing like, you know, Chris Hemsworth, you know, of Thor.
Chris Hemsworth is at least 240. But he's tall and muscle.
Right. Well, no. And
that's what you mean.
Yeah. But no, I'm saying like, but still, Billy Bob will see himself in Chris Hemsworth for whatever fucking reason.
I see what you
seeing
mean.
that he is, you know, like that straight male masculine kind of thing. And even if he has nothing in common with him, right, he still sees that. But it's always kind of seeking that. And that's kind of been ingrained in society as like being the norm, at least for in the sense of media and stuff. So I think that we still have so much work to do. And I like I said, you tap into something that's much deeper than just like the surface level thing, because it's not just gay men. It is all of society constantly.
Because I think women really, specifically straight or bi women, really struggle with this too. Also, I just want to say the gall of straight men. Oh my God. Like I live in Hollywood. I used to do musical theater in New York. Now I do I live in Hollywood. My point is, I have been friends with very beautiful women. Like, I'm talking traditional models here.
Yeah.
And the disgusting men that will just walk right up to them and be like, hey, baby, da 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 da. And I'm like, how dare you?
Yeah. Who the fuck do you think you are? Yeah.
And like, if I think somebody is even remotely attractive, I'm like, well, I guess I'll never be able to speak to them ever in my life.
That's funny that you say that, because to me, that's an insecurity that we also get though, right? Which is once again goes to that male gaze. It's kind of like you see a really hot guy and you're like, there's no fucking way I would ever go up to that guy and be like, hey, how are you doing? They're probably the nicest and most down to earth, not always.
Sure.
But our own insecurity stops us from doing that. But straight men,
no insecurities. The world is for them.
Exactly. Well, yeah. And that's the biggest thing. That statement is huge, because it is. Yeah. It's the world is their oyster and they don't care. They're going to just do whatever the hell they want to do in order to see what happens.
This is why they still to this day struggle with the word no.
Okay. Dead. You're just bringing it out of me. I love it, Joseph. So keeping this going, who has really been your biggest supporter or fan of your career and really helped you to keep going forward in it?
Oh, interesting. I've been lucky to have like a lot of really amazing friends. That is an interesting question when I think about it. I've had a lot of people who have been like very supportive, great friends. But now that you say that, I think about it. In particular, I have this one friend, this girl that I met at Groundlings. Her name's Erica Dawson.
Wow. Giving shout outs.
Yeah, she's wonderful. And we just became friends in Groundlings. We were like on an improv team together with 6 other people. And we just kind of stayed friends all these years. And then she started doing stand-up around the same time I started doing stand-up. And we just ended up doing a lot of shows together. And she has just been where I lack in go-getter-ness. She's really good at. So, she's just really great at being like, oh, hey, this opportunity popped up. And so I pitched your name, So she's been really wonderful for that stuff. But I've also had a lot of friends who have been very supportive. My boyfriend thinks I'm funny. He shows up to the show. I mean, it's been COVID pretty much the whole time we've been together, but he's shown up to all of the Zoom shows.
Yeah.
And he's come to a couple of the live shows now that we're doing those again. But yeah, I don't know. Shout out to my sweet little buddy, Erica, who is also hilarious. Check her out. She has a series called Kooky Cookin'. She's lovely and she's a big cheerleader for me. I have some other comedian friends. My friend Sophia Zolan, another comedian. She's very supportive as well. Comes to a lot of my shows and she does a lot of shows. She's also hilarious and she'll be like, oh, I did this show. It was great. You should reach out to these people, So I don't know. Does that answer it?
No, absolutely. Yeah, no, that's great. That's amazing. I think that you need those type of people around you. And like you said, right. If you're not the one that is the go-getter, then having someone that is able to kind of pull the strings or kind of help you in that, in your weakness, if you will, if you'll call it that, kind of to support you, then it makes things so much easier to kind of be able to, keep going and moving. So,
and I mean, of course, like I said, I've been very lucky. My parents are awesome. They've always been very supportive. They have, they worry about me a little bit, but they've never made me feel bad about wanting to pursue a career in the arts. They've come to my stand-up is filthy. They still come and they laugh and they're like, oh, well. My mom's like, I hope that was just a joke and not a real story. And I'm like, yeah, it was a joke. But, so yeah, of course my family has been great. My parents are wonderful.
So obviously you've been talking about COVID-19 and it's affected people in so many different ways. So what is it that really kept you going during that and kind of got you into 2021? And, we're 6 months into it now. So what's keeping you going?
Well, not to keep talking about him, but I've been single for a long, long time. And then right before COVID, I met this boy. And we were like interested in each other. But he was like, I'm just looking for friends. I was like, okay, fine. We'll just be friends. And this happened like right before COVID. And we were like hanging out. And then I had some friends who I thought were really good friends kind of disappear. COVID was like a really great, cleanser, I guess, because people who I really thought were my friends, who I really thought I could like depend on to like, be there. Even when I say be there, I just mean like call me once a week, check in on me. Like they fell off and disappeared really quick. But me and this guy, Joe, started talking every night. We FaceTimed every single night. And I mean, we didn't like plan it. It wasn't like we're going to do this every night. It just kind of like every night we'd be texting and be like, you want to FaceTime? I'm like, yeah, sure. And then eventually it just became like a thing. And then we kind of developed a relationship over that. And he would visit LA. I'd visit in San Francisco because that's where he was staying for the pandemic. And it kind of developed into what is now a relationship, And I think in a lot of ways that kind of helped ground me and center me, like having that to look forward to every single night. And yeah, I mean, I went through the pandemic fully sober. I don't really drink that much, and I think I might have an alcohol. I can't drink that much.
Oh wow!
But I also stopped like smoking pot. It's California; it's legal here. And because I was like having like anxiety attacks doing it, so I just decided to stop. And I also decided to like give myself a break, and I just like relaxed. I was watching everything. I was eating whatever I wanted, which is why I gained a lot of weight. Lucky for me, this guy's really into it. And I think just having him and kind of like that kind of new relationship blossoming happening helped kind of keep me going. And also I was coming off of a job that I hated in the restaurant. So it was almost kind of nice to not have to like face these horrible people every night.
Seriously. Okay.
I don't know. Does that sum it up pretty well?
No, that's great. Yeah. I think, surrounding yourself with in a relationship and like you said, blossoming and burgeoning during this whole thing. I'm sure it not only give you focus, but it like, it's shifted so many things, like, and it is kind of almost like a cleanse. You found out who your real friends were. You kind of deal with kind of the things that you probably haven't been able to deal with because now you have all this time to really think and talk them through and deal with everything. And obviously with all the social unrest that was really kind of, coming to the fore as well, it kind of, I think, made all of us, at least for myself, really reflect on kind of what are my own, prejudices, et cetera, and how do I deal with them and how am I seen in society, et cetera, et cetera. So I had a friend who also lost her job during COVID, and she was like going nuts. She was like, I am applying for jobs constantly, every day looking for jobs and applying. And she's just like, I just need to be working. Right. And I was like, oh no. You're like, no, girl.
I never want to go back to work again.
You're like, hello, EDD. Can I please have my paycheck? Thank you so much.
I have this money forever. Yeah. Thank you so much. But, I do enjoy doing shows. So if I can make comedy a job, that's a job I would love to do. But like day jobs are not for me. Yeah. So that being said, I feel like I thrived in that sense.
No, that's great. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So speaking of kind of blossoming and, kind of coming out of this and, this podcast was born out of COVID and realizing how many people in the creative field, do struggle to kind of, make it. And so the lotus flower is a really great representation of kind of blooming as well as seeding out of this mud and muck underneath, or the struggle is kind of what I related to. You're able to create this like beautiful life. And so what do you really consider to be your like lotus blossom of your life?
So that means like something that was like a struggle or I looked at as a negative that turned out to become a positive thing?
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. I think I kind of touched on this already, but I think like with comedians in general, this is probably true a lot of the times, but a lot of like my childhood traumas,
just laugh it off. Yeah.
A lot of my childhood trauma, I mean, if we had to boil it down in my mind, really kind of come down to the gay thing and the chubby thing, those are two things I really had a hard time with when I was younger. Kind of accepting those things about myself and then like using them to my advantage is maybe what I would say, is just kind of like working through these things that I was so worried made me different or undesirable to certain types of people, ended up being the thing that makes me feel most connected to people.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So it's almost turning poison into medicine, if you will, in the sense of like, theoretically, poison. It was kind of poisoning your mind, if you will. And then you turned it into kind of the medicine that ultimately like makes you shine. It is like who you are. Yeah.
And it's funny because when you're young and it's like, oh, especially if you're a young queer person, it's like, oh, it just sucks. I just want to be like everybody else, But then not being like everybody else ends up being such a blessing because not only are you like a unique person, an interesting person, but also like kind of forces you to look at the world a little bit differently. And I think makes you a better person because if you are, and I'm not saying everybody who is like traditionally this, that, or the other thing. I'm sure there's a lot of great people across the board. But my point is like, if you are different and you have to look at the world a little bit differently, it just, I think, makes you more open to different things. Yeah. Which is all good. Yeah. I don't know. That was weird to say, but
no, you make valid points. I mean, it goes back to what you said earlier, which is like not being the norm of the patriarchy, right? And only seeing that you see differently than that. So you actually lean into that is actually a better thing than being like, I really wish I could just fit into like the rest of this, societal norms, if you will, and make it really like who you are and just be proud of that and be like, let's keep moving forward.
Yeah. And even like another way to think about this, like I said, I grew up in the Inland Empire, which is a really diverse community. Mm-hmm. So I grew up around all sorts of different people all the time, which is really like such a blessing, because not saying that obviously like I don't have like my own things to still learn and grow from, but I just feel like being around different people is always good. You don't want to be surrounded by everybody who's the same. So I just think being around so many like different points of view, different backgrounds, upbringings makes you a better person. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think so.
Yeah. The diversity is definitely helpful.
What I'm saying is I'm an amazing person.
Drop the mic.
Just kidding, everybody.
So kind of looking to the future, getting out of COVID and moving forward, kind of what are your goals that you might have for yourself for the next year, 3 years, 5 years, or maybe even 10 years from now?
Ooh. Well, that is a great question. Well, okay. So honestly, like some major goals, I would like to be a working comedian.
Yes.
And I could see that happening in different ways. I would, like to be able to be touring, even though that honestly scares me a little bit because it's like once you leave the comfy bubble of Los Angeles and New York City, which are really the two cities I've performed in,
Mm-hmm.
It's scary for me anyway. Unless you're like, if you're already famous, then everybody's coming to your show and they're like, okay, we know this guy's going to be gay and we like that. That's why we're going to the show.
Right.
But if you're not famous and you're just on some average show, and you're up there and you're like, I'm a homosexual. They're like, we hate you. I don't know. It's like one of my fears. But anyway, so I would like to be, working, making my money as a comedian. Really, ultimately, like touring would be awesome. But I would like to be working in TV, film, doing stuff like that, however that looks, whatever shape that takes. Even if it's in a writer's room would be awesome. Or, starring in my own sitcom if you insist, Mr. Producer.
Yes.
But however, whatever shape that takes, that's kind of like some goals for me. Like really more immediate, specific goals. I'd like to get some representation.
Right.
And 200,000 followers on TikTok.
There we go. Immediate goals. I
don't know.
So if you're looking to the future and you were able to talk to your future self in say 15 years from now, which is quite a bit of time, what would you say?
If I was talking to my future self?
Yeah. Future Joseph Schles.
I would say, I need you to find the winning lottery ticket numbers for 2021 and write that shit down right now. And then I would also say, do you want a 69? Like, we might as well. See what everybody else is seeing, you know what I mean?
Wow.
No, if I was talking to my future self, that's interesting because I think everybody always asks, what would you say to your past self? But to my future self, I'd be like, tell me what to not do. You know, I think I would like be like, please help me avoid mistakes that I'm gonna make. Yeah, I feel like that's probably what I'd say. What happens in Handmaid's Tale? Is RuPaul's Drag Race still going?
There you go. That's a good one. Are the queens still on television on RuPaul's Drag Race? And how the hell is she still alive?
Right. If I was still speaking to my future self 15 years from now, I would say, is season 13 of RuPaul's Drag Race still airing?
I love it. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Joseph. I really appreciate you coming on. If people would like to follow you and find you, how can they do that? Both your work as well as any of your TikTok. Obviously, we need more followers there.
Yes, please. Yeah, it's just at Joseph Schles. I'm lucky to have kind of a unique name. So if you just type in my name, I'm bound to pop up. I'm at Joseph Schles everywhere, no spaces, JOSEPHSCHLES. That's how you can find my album and Spotify or whatever. Just type in my name and I'll pop up somewhere.
Fantastical. Thank you so, so much. This was so fun talking with you.
Yay.
I love catching up and then also talking comedy. It's a fun thing. So.
Yeah, this is so great. Oh, by the way, if you do check out my album, Soliciting Dick Pics, the cover photo for my album was taken by Mr. Alan Zaki.
Yay. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I love those pictures.
That was such a fun shoot.
It was fun.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you once again to Joseph for such an amazing interview. I know that we got really deep and talked about subjects that we don't normally talk about. And who said that comedy can't be deep? This week's Buddhist quote of the week is, "Praising others is not pampering them. In a stress-filled society, words that warm the heart are more significant than ever. They sustain and strengthen others, inspiring them to strive toward personal growth." By Daisaku Ikeda. Hey, Creative Lotus fam. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. If you're listening on Anchor.fm, you're actually able to leave me a voice memo in the messages section, and I'd love to hear what you have to say. Please leave a message, and I can add it to an upcoming episode and getting your point of view on the Creative Lotus Pod. Thank you so much, and I look forward to hearing what you have to say. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of the Creative Lotus Podcast. I'm your host, Alan Zaki. Please go ahead and subscribe, rate us, and write a review. And follow me at Alan Zaki on social media. I look forward to having more amazing creative dialogues on the next episode.